Welcome back to another episode of Going with the Flow. Today, we have a special guest, Dan Neuman, who is a former Cellino Plumbing employee. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you very much. Glad to be back.
Yeah, so former employees. We created this podcast to be a podcast about the people at Cellino Plumbing. We've now kind of detoured to former. So why don't you give us a little background of who you are and where you currently are now?
Yeah, so I'm Dan Neuman. I worked for you guys for 8 years. Probably the best 8 years of my life. It was a great experience. Learned a lot. Then probably within the last year of me working for you guys, I had a passion always to want to start my own company. I'd started making the steps to doing so. So January 1st, I ended up starting my own company. Been on my own for 6 months now. It's been a great experience. It's just exciting.
Yeah, and you're not the first one. We've had maybe eight or nine different plumbers leave it and start their own company, and certainly we always wish them the best. With you, I could tell you had the business sense. Your brother runs a small business and is very successful, and you had it down. So I didn't have too many worries, but it is always one of those things where it's like it could go wrong. Just be weary. You're gonna get these big disasters. And I was talking to you before this. You're like, yeah, I haven't had any yet, and that totally blew my mind. So, but it does sound like you're taking a lot of the right steps to avoid those.
Yeah, it's that was one of my biggest thing with hiring on some employees, is obviously quality, making sure that everything was up to my standards, just as you always wanted for your technicians out in the field. So I make sure that they always send pictures before they leave the job site, make sure everything is buttoned up the right way, meets my expectations. I like to do a lot of follow-ups with my customers, call them, make sure that they were satisfied with the technician that was out there. So I try to take many steps to make sure that the quality's there and we can alleviate some disasters along the way.
Yeah, no, certainly. And there'll be guys at the shop that'll be like, "Hey, did you see what New Flow posted? It's like Cellino Plumbing North over there." So I love it. To me, right? It's like it's a good thing. I see you hopping on the nonprofit stuff. I think that's great. You kind of kicked us out of Sophia's there.
Oh boy,
Sponsoring the golf tournament, having a tee hole or a tee. What do you call it? The lawn sign at the tee. But no, I love it. I think it's great. I want to see more and more companies do that. So I'm glad if that's one thing you picked up from us. Help out the community. You were always big into that. You're a volunteer fireman. I'm assuming you still do that as well.
Yeah. Still a volunteer fireman. And honestly, that is one of the biggest takeaways out of the last 8 years is to give back to the community. You guys did a tremendous job with giving back to the community. That always excited me, kept me driving to do what I did for the last 8 years at Cellino. And I wanted to continue on the tradition. Maybe not the same foundations, but it just happened that Sophia actually hit very hard with me as well, being close with that organization. So I wanted to kind of continue on what you guys, you guys did for them.
Yeah, no, and again, definitely appreciate the Western New York City Good Neighbors. The more that we can help out the 501c3s, I think it goes a long way. I've just learned that they stretch that dollar so far.
Oh yeah.
So Dan, you're in business for 6 months. You already have 2 employees. That would be my fear. I think that I've always said that this is a great trade to get into. If you ever want to go on your own and own your own business, you can move anywhere, really anywhere in the world, but anywhere in America and easily get a job. Job security's there. My biggest fear would be, especially in New York, starting a small company, getting employed. It's difficult. I am absolutely shocked, and we haven't spoken about this, but tell me how you got 2 guys and it's 6 months in. And then it's going well because you got something I don't.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of 2 a.m. Work nights, putting in a lot of things in terms of doing forecasting, knowing where the dollars are going, knowing what to expect to come in, knowing what I'm paying out. So a lot of pre-planning went into that. You gave a lot of secrets away when you were my boss back in the day. So a lot of thanks goes to you. In regards to scaling a company. I do get a little nervous 6 months in, a couple guys, but here we are, we're busy. We're booking about 2 weeks, 3 weeks out. So it's been quite the journey so far.
Yeah, I forget who has the saying, but it's something along the lines of, what if we train them too much and they leave? But the other side is, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? So to me, it's they're not really secrets. There's nothing that we do that's top notch or top secret, I would say. What I do think we do is we're really intentional with what we do, and we focus on the mission, the values, and how do you break down your costs and just knowing how to run the business. I've always been very transparent with everybody. I like everyone to understand, where we're coming from, why do we make decisions. So certainly there's going to be some learnings, and again, I'm glad. Like I think that when you're going to leave, I'm hoping the best for you.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no animosity or anything along those lines. I certainly want to see it. Besides being coworkers, we became good friends. And one of my favorite parts on that is you got it right. It's But the boss, I always said like, "Hey, Dan, this ain't gonna change anything at work.
right, right,
You come in complaining you're getting written up, and I'll smile, but I'm not changing anything
right.
just from the friendship." So we got that pretty. We had that nailed down pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, you were a great mentor, honestly, and that was the one thing that I loved about our relationship is that we can hang out after work, be the best buddies that you always wanted, and then at work it was straight business. You would tell me if I was acting up, you would tell me if something wasn't fitting the bill for Cellino Plumbing, and I would correct that and not take that to heart towards our friendship after hours. And I think that's really important, especially in a small family business. And when we create that family environment, you're in the shop all the time with all of your guys. So why wouldn't you want to be friends with the boss? Um, we both share the same passion in regards to what we do. And we want the same goal, serve the customers, serve the community, make a better environment, work environment for all of our employees. Just goes a long way. And you really hit the nail on the head with that, and you did a great job. It was a lot of fun working with Cellino.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, we're a service company, and when we're all service, we're not selling any products. We're only as good as the people that are working there and serving. So we really put a lot of focus getting the right people in place, getting good people there, and that makes it easy to work with. That's how the system works. It's not a huge secret. It's get good people, train them, set the right expectations, and you mentioned. I'll tell you when you're messing up there. Uh, I think that's probably the biggest fault in most managers. They're not when there's an issue, they don't go straight forward to it and bring it right up. And I think that you always have to do that. You got to do it in the right way. But that to me, that's the biggest mistake I see with most managers, not going to it. And you can see that, I see it all the time that people do actually appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, and that's one big learning curve, obviously stepping away from just being a technician to now owning a company and being responsible for the product of a few guys. Is if something's not fitting the bill for my standards, to be able to go up there and politely, tell the employee, hey, we got to do this a little bit better next time, or this, that, you know, just because us as owners, we have a little bit different of an outlook to what the final product looks like than maybe most.
Yeah, and
Uh,
finding that line between nitpicking and
yep,
micromanaging versus helping, and
yep, yep.
that's a tricky spot.
Yeah,
Certainly a
it's
gray area.
definitely definitely is a gray area on that, how to present that. It's sometimes a little challenging. Pick your battles is what they say.
For sure. So Dan, we jumped right to you starting your own company there. Why don't we just bring it back around through the history of you even starting? You came from another plumbing company. Why don't you start there and maybe just go through what a brief summary of your 8 years at Cellino.
Yeah, so we're going back probably 10 years now, Luke. But I had put my application in with two plumbing firms. It was West New York Plumbing and Cellino Plumbing. You gave me the old tour of the building, and I never heard back from you. So I went to West New York Plumbing. Probably for the better, only in the sense I got to see what was behind the walls. Other than that, I absolutely hated the job.
I still think that's a good
Um,
experience, though, right?
it was a really great experience to be able to do new build construction, see what's behind the walls. Gave me a huge advantage doing service work, where some of these guys don't get to see it till they're 4 or 5 years in what's behind the walls in an entire house.
Sure.
So it was a great experience. And then I took the leap of faith again one more time, put my application in again with Cellino, and finally got the call back from you. First time in my life, I had to do a interview over a video. You guys had made us record a video and why we wanted to come work for you. And I remember I was sitting in the office with you, and you asked me why I wanted to do what I did. And you said, or I said to you, I'm sorry. Um, when I'm driving down the street, I want to be able to point out to my loved ones, I worked on this house, I worked on this house. And crazy part is 8 years later, that's exactly what I did. I remember we did a big house on Jersey Street, and I had brought somebody down there, and I was like, we plumbed 5 bathrooms inside this house. And it had me reflecting back on that time during the interview. Um, so after the interview, get hired, spend 8 years there, make a lot of friends, meet a lot of cool and neat customers, did a lot of different things that I never thought I was capable of doing. Um, and it's been fantastic.
Are there any jobs that stick out as the most memorable while you're at Cellino?
I mean, that 5.5 bathroom house was pretty memorable in the city of Buffalo. It was for a customer that was working with Google. Um, and to be able to start to finish, see that work, quote out the job, um, and then be on site to do the work as well was very rewarding.
How about a disaster job? Any bad memories? A job that
See,
just went wrong or something that sticks
we're
out?
disasters. I feel like I'm pretty good with shying away from. You know, I've had 6 months of no disasters so far in my company, and I think I can say this now, 8 years successfully at Cellino with no big disasters having to call you and saying, hey, we gotta pay out a big amount of money for this job. Um, so yeah, other than that, I mean, late night calls. I actually do remember, I think you remember my first on-call shift. You were dispatching. We were still growing, so you were in the office dispatching. And a nursing home in the city of Buffalo called. And I see your face. So you definitely remember this
I
one.
remember this one.
But it was about 11:30 at night.
It's right across from where they had the Greek festival. It was
Yes.
directly across from you.
Yep.
So I was just there and I was looking at it.
So it was 11:30 at night, and you said, "Hey, I know you've been working all day. If you don't want to take it, don't worry about it." Of course, with my attitude, I said, "Bring it on." Pull up to the job site, and just prior to me getting there, they about a day before they had their sprinkler system break. So it looked a little bit worse than it actually was. But they had about 15 water line breaks from the weather. And the nurse said, "Listen, by 6 o'clock in the morning, if we don't have this done, we have to remove all the residents out of the building." And there was probably about 300 residents in the building. Big deal. Health department was involved. So she said to me, "I got 3 other companies coming to the job site." And I remember calling you. I said, "Hey, Luke, we got this big job. I need like maybe 4 or 5 guys in this job." The head nurse said that they're sending a few other plumbing companies there, and I said, "If you're sending other plumbing companies, we don't want any involvement in this." And you said, "Excuse me, what did you just say?" And you came to the job site, and we ended up tackling all the leaks. We were there for about 3 hours, got them all up and running, and it was a disaster at first, but we did it the Cellino way, and and got it back up and running for them before 6.
Yeah, life of a plumber, right? That's
Right.
and we have changed a lot. You know, going back I don't do any of the I haven't done hiring in a few years, let alone dispatching or the overnight calls. So it does go to show you how long it's been, especially when you're talking a relationship and something that long ago. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first on call shift is always what really makes or breaks you.
Yeah.
That's where the stressor and that comes out. I can only imagine going in and
Yeah. It
you
was.
you know your skills, right? You have it, but you haven't dealt with it, and you don't have that same support system they have during the 9 to 5.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely an eye-opening experience. Looking back at it now, I probably should have accepted another company there, but luckily you came out because I would have been there probably till 6 o'clock in the afternoon and with nobody in the building.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's a fun one. We've had a few of those fun ones.
yeah.
We used to call you Dan the Gas Man. How are you still doing a lot of gas line leaks?
So that is something that I do want to get back into. I haven't really targeted that demographic yet. I feel like obviously they have somewhat of a following, to have a niche market, so to speak, in gas lines. Gas lines were really rewarding. I mean, because you could actually show the customer, hey, there's a leak here. Here's the gauge. You know, you can do step by step. There's no, this is why it needs to be done, and try to explain it to them when they don't understand. So I really enjoy doing gas lines. Creating a safer environment for family inside their house. It's just a necessary thing, and a lot of people don't really understand sizing of gas lines and such around those lines. So I hope a few guys at Cellino took on my legacy of doing gas lines.
Yeah, the the nicest part about gas lines, or probably the most rewarding, is that nobody seems to do them right. And,
Yeah.
we've had issues in the past. Just about every company had issues where you really got to have solid process procedures down in order to ensure that everyone's doing. And they're not that. It's really not that hard. You just got to be somewhat patient.
Right. Yeah. Patience is something that you need to have. You gotta want to do the job. So you have to gear up your technicians to want to do the job. And explain to them it's not something you're going to be walking in and out of. You may get lucky sometimes on a gas leak, and it may just be one fitting that's not in the crawl space. It's next to the water heater. But most of the times there's 15 fittings leaking, and your best option may be quote out for a repipe, come back the next day, and then tackle it with a fresh mindset.
So Dan, we kind of went through, you starting at Cellino, you now owning New Flow and what that looks like. Why don't we just finish up with what's next for New Flow and where does it go from here?
Yeah. So I'm just waiting to see what else you guys post on social media so I can just keep copying.
Yeah, share it away.
Because you guys have been doing great with that. You guys you got social media nailed down, that's for sure. But realistically, looking into the future, we have 2 trucks on the road right now. Hopefully by the end of the year, we can get maybe a 3rd truck on the road. And servicing, some more people outside of, Amherst, Lockport, the area that our shop's located in. We've grown tremendously so far, and I've been super thankful. And I know you've given us a shout out a handful of times as well. So anybody that's given us a shout out for our company, used our name, used us, we're really appreciative for it. And then hopefully further down the road, 5 years down the road, maybe looking to get in the HVAC company, doing electrical stuff around those lines as well. I think the mentality that you guys have, the one-stop shop, is really what drives customers to stay with you. They don't have to use other companies to get any type of service done at their house.
Well, Dan, I certainly look forward to your success and seeing you guys grow. And again, I just, there's not enough plumbers that do it the right way. I know who you are and I know what you stand for. And I know that New Flow will always give that good product. Probably the second best in Buffalo behind Cellino, of course. But no, thanks again for joining, Dan. It's a pleasure seeing you again, and wish you the best.
Awesome. I always will take that. I will always be underneath you guys. And I appreciate everything you've done for me, and it was great seeing you again too, Luke.
Take care, Dan.
Thanks.